Twists and turns make any television show great, but once we enter the territory of personal betrayals, it's a whole different ballgame. Audiences gasp when one character betrays another for glory, money, personal gain, politics, or part of a power play. In this video, we're going to look at the most profound and shocking betrayals in TV history, so don't go anywhere. First up, Nina Myers on 24. Whether dragon-filled fantasies are your fare or you prefer teen soaps and sitcoms, the small screen constantly brings us a slew of shocking and juicy betrayals. And if the writers and the production teams do their job well, audiences are left gasping simply because they're so unexpected. Do you remember Nina Myers showing her true colors on 24? Back in 2001 when this show premiered, it was an instant hit. This was largely due to the unique premise and framework. There were 24 episodes every season, and each episode fills exactly 1 hour. And it was all about Agent Jack Bauer, a counterterrorism specialist. The first bad day for Jack Bauer makes up the show's entire first season, and Kiefer Sutherland made a strong showing right from the first scene. He has to protect the presidential candidate, Senator David Palmer, from being assassinated, but he also has to keep his own family safe from the terrorists. When it looks as if Jack finally triumphs, Nina Myers, his right-hand woman, turns out to be a mole. She kills Terry, Jack's wife. This is a stunning twist, and it causes Jack to lose faith in all those around him. He simply doesn't know who to trust anymore, and here's the kicker, his wife was pregnant. Remember when we see Michael's true colors in The Good Place? Stay with us. We'll bring you that in a moment. Then, the Red Wedding. For a while, it seemed as if Game of Thrones would corner the market on spectacular betrayals, and the infamous Red Wedding is probably one of the most shocking and unforgettable betrayals in the history of television. The War of the Five Kings is raging at the time the wedding takes place. Robb Stark, played by Richard Madden, will marry one of Walder Frey's girls, but he falls in love and decides to elope with his new flame, a Volantis healer named Talisa, played by Una Chaplin. Walder accepts Robb's apologies, and then he offers Edmure Tully, played by Tobias Menzies, one of his daughters instead. But as we all know by now, this wedding didn't go as planned, not for Caitlin, Robb, or Talisa. The reception scenes start to unfold. Caitlin sits alongside Roose Bolton, her longtime ally and friend. She's the first to realize that something is amiss. Caitlin notices all the doors are locked, and she notices Roose is wearing armor under his clothes. But before she can do anything, her men are murdered by Frymen, and they skewer Robb and stab Talisa. Caitlin kills Walder Frey's youngest wife, and then her throat is slit. The Red Wedding stands tall as the most horrifying betrayal in the history of television. It almost ended the Stark bloodline, all because of a single broken promise. But the way Gossip Girl's identity is revealed and the consequences of that revelation is almost as shocking. We're bringing you that in a moment. Stay with us. Also, Michael's gambit comes into the open on The Good Place. This is a fantastic afterlife comedy. We meet Eleanor Shellstrop when a kind, gentle, otherworldly being tells her she is dead. She's allowed to enter The Good Place because she lived a pure life. This is instead of being sent to the dark, frightening, and ominous bad place. Initially, Eleanor is all kinds of pleased, but she's hiding a frightening secret. Michael is confusing her with an entirely different Eleanor Shellstrop. That Eleanor Shellstrop belongs in The Good Place, while she doesn't. Besides, she's a self-confessed Arizona dirtbag who should be going to the bad place. In The Good Place, she meets fellow human newcomers. There's Florida DJ, Jason Mendoza, played by Manny Jacinto, and also Tahani Al-Jamil, played by Jamila Jamil. They're joined by Chidi Anagonye, a hapless philosopher, and Janet, the seemingly omniscient assistant in the neighborhood. Eleanor has to figure out why she was sent to The Good Place, and in that group discovers something even more shocking. When Michael is backed into a corner, he reveals he's actually one of the architects of the bad place, and he's trapped a quartet of humans in the bad place by fooling them into believing they're actually in the good place. Michael eventually joins forces with the humans, and the entire afterlife system is revamped. This single twist sets Michael up as a nefarious character, and it turns viewers' opinions of him on their heads in season 1. Friends was mostly happy-go-lucky, but there is one betrayal that affected two characters throughout the series. That's coming up in a moment. Keep watching. Then Gossip Girl's identity is unexpectedly revealed. Gossip Girl was a deliciously campy teen soap. In it, entitled Wealthy New York Teenagers on the Upper East Side pay far too much attention to Gossip Girl, but nobody knows who she is. Gossip Girl is an enigmatic blogger with a network of spies. She collects all kinds of salacious information throughout the city and covers anything from unexpected trysts, pregnancy scares. She doesn't consider many things taboo and leaves a slew of broken friendships and romances in her wake. The show had no choice but to reveal the identity of Gossip Girl, and they waited until the finale of the series to do so. Turns out, Dan Humphrey, the social climbing outsider from Brooklyn, was behind the blog all along. Also, Rachel and Ross's Friends breaks are two entirely different things. One of the most loved and iconic sitcom couples ever has to be David Schwimmer's Ross and Jennifer Aniston's Rachel in Friends. But one of the bitterest betrayals ever to hit the small screen keeps on hindering them from getting on with the romance. Ross accused Rachel of engaging in an affair with one of her coworkers. Then the two decide to take a hiatus from the relationship. They wanted to give each other the opportunity and space to work through their individual issues with previous relationships, but the two of them have different understandings of the concept of taking a break. Rachel remains faithful. Ross, however, still suspects Rachel of sleeping with her coworker, and he has a spiteful one-night stand. He uses the old excuse, "We were on a break," and hurts Rachel badly in the process. Another great on-screen betrayal was when Michael killed his friends when looking for his son on Lost. Michael Dawson, played by Harold Perrineau, is stranded on a mysterious and terrifying desert island after Oceanic Flight 815 goes down. He finds himself among the other survivors, but simply wants to get through each day with his son Walt, who Malcolm David plays. Soon the survivors realize there may well be more to the island than they first thought. When Walt is kidnapped by the others, Michael is in a desperate situation. He is stranded in the ocean on a raft, but yet again he survives. He'll throw everything to the wind to save Walt. The others tell him Walt can go home if Michael brings them survivors of the Oceanic Flight. He ends up killing two of his best friends, Libby, played by Cynthia Waltros, and Michelle Rodriguez's Ana Lucia. This leads to Walt and Michael getting together again, but his betrayal to facilitate that is unforgettable television entertainment. Arguably the biggest betrayal comes from Breaking Bad. Watch until the end of this video to see why. Now, back to Game of Thrones. The entire series is populated by dubious and unsavory characters, but the bastard of the Stark family, Jon Snow, is both honorable and honest. But when he takes up duties as the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch in Season 5, this commitment to his personal honor does him no favors. While the army of the undead closes in from the far north with the Night Kind, Jon will do what it takes to save his Night's Watch brothers and the Wildings beyond the Wall. But his brothers and the Wildings are sworn enemies. This attempt to bring the two groups together is his undoing at the end of the season. His own men trick him into believing his uncle has returned from the wilderness, and his brothers execute him by stabbing him and leaving him for dead. The last shot in Season 5 is of Jon bleeding in the snow. He returns within 2 episodes of Season 6, but the betrayal is profound. Next, The Wire's Avon and Stringer destroy each other. It's many years after the fact, but HBO's The Wire drama is still considered one of the best ever. In large part, this is due to the attention writers gave to the personal relationships, played by astonishing actors. Few figures in The Wire loom as large as Wood Harris's Avon Barksdale. He's a feared and formidable Baltimore drug dealer. His right-hand man, Russell Stringer Bell, played by Idris Elba, is equally menacing. They have a close relationship, and this makes Stringer's eventual demise more tragic. After all the years of strife, Avon and Stringer find themselves at an impasse in Season 3. They've each given information about the other to a range of enemies all over Baltimore. Then they lay their cards on the table. Avon ends up sending Stringer to his death, and this is mostly to save himself. This attempt of the two at mutual destruction is as brutal as it is heartbreaking. And finally, Hank stumbles across Heisenberg's identity in Breaking Bad. What a trajectory! Breaking Bad was a fresh new concept, and fans love the series. A meek and mild-mannered chemistry teacher, Walter White, played brilliantly by Bryan Cranston, becomes a ruthless drug lord in the series. That's in the wake of a terminal cancer diagnosis. Walt betrays everybody around him, so much so that it is difficult to remember all his misdeeds. Chief among his victims is Hank, played by Dean Norris, Walt's brother-in-law. Hank is looking for the true identity of the mysterious drug kingpin Heisenberg. Initially, Hank and Walt have an easygoing camaraderie, but this begins to turn dark when Hank gets too close. Eventually, Hank realizes that Heisenberg is actually Walt, and this information staggers him. He eventually becomes one of Walt's many victims. And on that note of betrayal, we end this video, folks. Remember, hit like, subscribe, and follow, and keep your eyes peeled for our next contribution.